It's about when Everest is becoming a commercial tourism is entering Everest, and Rob Hall and Scott Fischer are the kind of the first guys to set up companies who take people up Everest. And I know Hillary was really opposed to this, and didn't like this idea of them doing that. But anyways, this was happening, and wasn't only happening on Everest, it was happening around the world, that people could suddenly pay their way up Everest or other big mountains. There had been obviously some accidents earlier that had happened, but this time there was more people on the mountain. There were more problems. There were lines, the people lining up at the Hillary steps, but there really wasn't. It wasn't that different from any other year. It was just a little bit more, and then all these problems together and the difficulties that were happening at the top of the Everest, and then a storm hit, And there are all kinds of different versions of if they knew about the weather or they didn't know about the weather or not. There are very, very contradicting stories about that. But with all the problems, lack of oxygen, tired, been too long, the ropes weren't fixed, back weathers, the Texan in the adventure consultant team had lost his sight, had been waiting on the balcony way too long. All these things coming together added to a one big mess, So it all fell apart, and unfortunately, people lost their lives up there, and more than ever on Everest. I think it was the biggest accident up till then. I read every book, everything I could get my hands on. I had numerous conversations with people who had both climbed Everest and were climbers. David Bashir, I had a couple of meetings with him. Everything to understand, the mind of the climber, what they're about, and then we traveled to of course we scouted. We went to Nepal and we went up to Everest on I didn't walk. I went on helicopter that time to see the mountain, in person, even places we're not going to shoot, just to understand it, and get it in my head. First day of shooting, minus 30 Celsius. I mean, you could hardly think it was so cold, like people were just, their brains were frozen. And that was 12 hours of that, the first day in the Dolomites, And you get through it in a weird way, and it looks great on film, people, their breath coming out of them, and the coldness in their faces, and it starts affecting the performances. Rob Hall is not an easy character, because Rob Hall has, there's a certain squareness to his character, which I think Jason really took on, and a lot of actors might shy away from. To allow the character to be who he is, instead of try to make him every moment charming or sympathetic, or he was called the mayor of base camp. He's the guy who plans everything really well. He's really, he wants to control things and keep them under wrap and double checks everything, and it can be a kind of annoying, those kind of people, But I think Jason, really went deep into that, working on that, like a leader that is Anno in some way, but then he's very loving in his relationship to his wife, and that is a very different part of him. We wanted to have a 3D, do this in 3D as well, is to be able to almost feel like that you did go up the mountain. You actually had the chance to go on Everest, even though you did it in the cinema. But that kind of experience, I'm hoping to give people, because I think part of the joy of going to the cinema is traveling. You go to places. Either you go to outer space, you go to different foreign countries, you go to places where you can't go, or you wouldn't go otherwise. And the more visceral, the real that journey is, the more you get for your ticket.